So about 1.5 years ago, I first saw this thing in NAB. I've been waiting to get my hands on this ever since. I finally have it, and I'm absolutely ecstatic about this. This is the brand new Ifootage Shark Nano II slider. It's a motorized slider, and it's got one really cool thing that you can pair with this, and that's a collaboration with DJI. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I'm very excited about this thing, so let's just get this thing straight out. So this is gonna be like one of those filmmaking tools that you're gonna use for like B-roll footage, product showcase, interviews, solo filmmaking. There's a lot of different things you can use with this thing. So it comes with this nice little case. Let's get this thing out of the case here. There's a lot of cool little accessories that come with it. I've been playing around with this thing now for actually a couple of weeks, so I can actually kind of learn how to use it. And it's super easy. But this is the Shark Nano slider. This is the bigger version. They have two different sizes on this. This is like the 17-inch version, and then they make one that's like a 9-inch version. So if you guys are doing a lot of like traveling and you want to bring it within your backpack, the 9-inch is probably a little bit better. But I opted for the 17 because I just want to have a little bit more range. But honestly, the 9-inch is just as cool too. So this thing comes in at about 6 pounds. The payload that you can put on this thing is 7 pounds. Otherwise, if you're using it vertically, it's 3.5 pounds. So you can put quite a bit of stuff on here. But the one thing that really sets this slider apart from every other slider out there is that Ifootage collaborated with DJI, so you can use Ronin gimbals. I think you can use the RS2, the RS2 Pro, the RS3 Pro, the RS4, and the RS4 Pro. So if you have the older gimbals, those will still work. Unfortunately, the RS3 non-Pro doesn't work because it doesn't have the connection pins. But you can use all those on here, and I also don't think the Mini 4 works either. So the cool thing with this is when you buy the slider, you get the base plate for the DJI gimbals. It has the 6-pin connection. So all you have to do is just literally slide that in there, lock it down. And now you can control the gimbal's movements as well as the pan movements and the different points. And you can actually set 8 key points. So you can have this gimbal be very precise on where you want it to point, what angle you want it to go down at, when you want it to go back up. You can literally set 8 key points and get some really cool footage with it. You can also just set 2 if you're just doing like orbits or just kind of simple shots. But this thing is going to be perfect for doing like B-roll footage, different like product showcases. In fact, that's probably what I'm going to use it for most. But if you're just doing like solo filmmaking stuff, you can actually set key points and then just make sure that you're hitting those key points while this thing's working. And then you can use this to make it look like you have someone else filming you. But also there's one other cool thing too, that if you use the app itself, you can use your smartphone on top of the gimbal, and they actually do give you this little accessory here that holds your phone. You can put that on top of your camera, and then you can put your phone in there, turn it to the phone setting on the slider, and then it'll actually just track you, which is a really cool function too. So if you wanted to just follow you around in the room, you can do that too, just using that app. So that's a cool feature. I probably won't use that too much, but it is cool that you can use that as a tracker as well. So if you want to highlight a product, you can highlight the product and then just hit go and it'll follow the product. So getting this thing all started is pretty simple. You can actually just use like an MP battery. You can plug that in the side. Otherwise, Ifootage just sent me over their little power bank battery. This is kind of a handle you can use for lights and stuff. You can use it for this. You can power it with this. You do need to have at least a 60-watt power source. So if you're using something like one of those small rig batteries or something like that, you can do that as well. I actually just like to plug this in as well as having my battery. That way you just kind of have extra battery life. So we'll just set that off to the side here. So now we're just going to power this up. You just have to hold down the power button until it turns on. It's going to go through its little setup mode. The cool thing with this too is this is actually going to power the gimbal itself, but you do have to turn on the gimbal once it's on to actually get it to unlock and do all its features. So we're going to turn on the gimbal. Now everything is unlocked. We have the camera turned on. So there's 2 different ways you can actually use this setup. You can use it all manually with the touch screen and manual settings on the actual slider itself, or you can use the app, or you can just kind of do a combination of both. So let's open the app. We're going to use the camera on the Nano 2 slider. So we have everything connected here. You do have to make sure the connection cable is set up for the gimbal. And then you're just going to get the app that's going to show you all your different key points. You can control the slider. You can do the hold times, change settings, do loops, all that stuff. So now that the gimbal's powered on, the one thing that you have to do with this setup is you have to go into your settings, go to push mode, and then you turn on push pan and push tilt. That allows you to control the camera angle and not have it like kick back to normal settings. So we're going to want to do that, and then we can come back. So if you want to control this with manual mode, all you have to do is hit the power button and the function menu at the same time, and then you'll hear a beep. Once you hear that beep, now you can just literally push this thing in any mode and you can set up your things. So what we're going to do first is, let's say we're going to go from, over from my side of my wall with my counter, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to hit A. Now that's going to set up that as A. So we can just move to the next setting. Let's go to about halfway through. Let's aim over to my camera and we're going to hit that as B. You'll automatically default now to 15 seconds between those two settings. So if you want to change that, you just go back, hit the time button, and you can control that. Let's just say, let's make that like 10 seconds so it's not so long. We'll go back, and then now we can go back and push a third mode. So let's go here. We'll go over to my other camera right here. And if you really need to get precise with the movements of the camera, you can actually just use the app itself and then use the trigger. Sometimes the push mode just wants to fight you a little bit. But let's go to that one and let's hit, okay, that's good. Now we'll hit C. Once again, it's going to add that 15 seconds. So we're going to change that one to about, like, say 10 seconds again, because we don't want it too long. Now I can go all the way to the end, and like, let's say we go down to, we'll just put this ball head over there, get it lined up. And then now we just need to hit D on the pad. And now it's going to be set up for those 4 movements. We can hit standby. It's going to go all the way back to 0.1. And then all we have to do is just go up here, hit record on the camera, and then we can hit start. Now it's going to go through that entire motion by itself, which is really cool. We can just kind of sit back and watch it. Really nice thing about the Sony cameras is it's going to, like, hopefully lock focus really well. But otherwise, if you want to actually make something stop and hold, you can actually go in there too and hit hold. That way it'll like hold on a position for a certain time and then it'll move on. You can set up to do that as well. But we're just going to do a continuous motion on this one. And then it's going to land there, and now it's just going to loop, so it's going to do that thing backwards. The cool thing with this function is now, let's say you're trying to do something clever with editing, and you want to have these exact same movements repeated over and over again while you're acting in the background. And let's say you're going to change shirt colors over and over and over. You can let this thing run, and then you could do those kind of shots, and you're always going to have the same positions every time, which is a really cool function. That's what's really nice about sliders, is it's going to give you the exact same thing over and over again, as long as you want to keep that thing looping. So now if we just want to use the app instead, we can just set all of our same points we want. You can still set this with manual marking, but otherwise if you want to just toggle it as well, you can control the gimbal and everything through your phone. You can actually also control the sensitivity of the pan tilt. So if it's going too quick, you can slow it down, stuff like that. So let's do a different motion here instead. So we're going to just do kind of an orbit around my camera instead. We're going to do something a little bit more simple here. So let's get this lined up. Let's go off my monitor. So let's put A for that one. Let's go all the way down to the end. And this is why going into manual marking is a little bit easier, because this is how fast this goes when you're trying to do it with the app instead. So if you don't want to wait like 20 seconds for it to go all the way to the end, just put it in manual modes, fling it down there, and then, set your mark. So, okay, so now we're there. So now we can just aim the thing back again where the original point was, because we want it to be focused in on one very specific subject. And we'll mark that as B, and we'll just let the 15-second time go on that one. So now all I have to do is hit standby on my phone. It's going to go back to the beginning again. So we can hit start, and now it's going to just do its motion A through B. You can also, like I said, you can still set 8 different points on here, but now you're going to get that really cool, silky smooth motion. The cool thing with this, what I like to do on sliders, is I like to let this thing run a couple times just to make sure you get the shot. And then I like to go in and just zoom my lens in so that you get the same shot, but now you have a different length. So if you want to, at some point, cut your footage from that wide to a zoomed shot, it's going to be on the same point. So you can say halfway through, you can cut the thing, make the edits, and then you're going to have this really cool, seamless like jump of focal range. So now we're going to put it back to the beginning. We're just going to run that same thing all over again. Now the camera zoomed in to 70 millimeters. So now we can just hit start and let it do its thing again. And you're going to see it has this really cool, like, smooth orbit around this subject. Now, if you're doing just this kind of function where you have the orbit shot, you don't need the gimbal. You can just use like the standard plate with a ball head. But if you want to have anything that has tilt to it, then you're going to want to use the gimbal, or if you want it to have any motion other than just panning. So don't think that you need to have this gimbal to use the slider. If you just want to use like a ball head on the plate, this thing is going to get some really cool panning shots as well. Now, as far as if you're just using this for panning shots, I would actually recommend not using the gimbal, because if you see here, the gimbal is actually staying centered on the plate and it's using the gimbal to do this pan. Sometimes you're not going to get the smoothest. Maybe it'll kind of shift a little bit depending on how you have your gimbal set up. But if you're just using the regular plate, you're actually just using the internals and it's going to pan itself. And I think that's actually smoother than the gimbal itself. So the gimbal is going to be something that you're going to add more for tilt action and things like that, where you're making multiple movements. Or if you have this hanging upside down, you can have the gimbal come down and you can have some really cool shots there. But that's just how simple this thing is to control. It's really easy to set your key points. It's really easy to set up different multiple points. So if you're doing some really cool like specific panning shots, where maybe you're out in like an area where you're trying to do like a cool landscape panning video, maybe you want it to be one spot and then you want it to aim down and then you want it to come back up, you can set all sorts of cool things with that. So, but like I said too, if you are just doing like product showcase and all you want to ever do is just panning, just stick with the regular plate. You can still use it without the gimbal. But having the integration with this gimbal is making this slider even more valuable to me, because you can just do a bunch of different kind of shots, which is really cool. But let's get this gimbal taken off. Let's just put the regular plate and the ball head on there and just see what we get with those. So when you purchase this, you're going to get the standard plate. You're going to get the DJI 6-pin connector plate. The standard plate, you can literally put the camera straight on that. The problem with that is that you're going to get zero tilt. So I would recommend using like a different kind of ball head. I'm just using one of the ones I have at home. So let's get that set up here. So it just snaps in, you lock it down. Now you can put your plate on there. Now you have your camera. The cool thing with this is we still have some tilt ability. So let's go back to straight up here. So let's do that same shot now. In fact, I even still have my keyframes in, but we're going to change that because now we're at a different height level. The nice thing about using this ball head and not the gimbal is that you don't have the height now that the other one has. If you are using that, that is one thing. If you're trying to keep something at tabletop level, you're going to need to use like either tripod stands or lighting stand, something that's sturdy enough to hold this. There's plenty of different mounting points on this. There's 1/4-20s on the sides, there's 3/8 on the sides, there's 3/8 on the bottom and 1/4-20s. You're not gonna not find a spot to mount this thing on because there's a ton of different mounting holes. So let's set this up. I'm gonna go back with manual settings because I think it is easier and it's a little quicker to use. So we're gonna hit both of those buttons. Now we're just going to aim at the monitor over there by my camera, and I'm gonna hit A. Now we're going to go about halfway down. I like to set 3 key points normally for this because it'll be a little more accurate and you won't miss out on that. So now we're just going to turn the camera again until it's back in the center of my monitor. And we're going to hit B. Let's change the time to 10 seconds because we want it not so long. And then we're going to go all the way to the end. And we're going to aim that back again at the center. And now we're going to hit C. Let's change that time to 10 seconds again. You can put whatever time you want. I just want to keep this more even so it's a gradual slide. So to lock the settings again, all you have to do is hit the power button, and now it's locked. So let's hit standby. It's going to go all the way back to the beginning, and let's hit record on the camera. And now we're going to watch this really awesome orbit shot that we're going to set up here. And we're just going to hit start. As you can see, if you're doing like product showcase stuff, like B-roll, like for me, I'm doing a lot of lenses, cameras, things like that. This is such an awesome thing because doing handheld B-roll, sometimes it's just really hard. It gets shaky, it gets wavy. This is very smooth. This track is very smooth. I wish I had this a long time ago. I had a different slider, but it can never really hold anything more than like a cell phone. And I had just constant problems with it. So the Ifootage one, this is making such a difference for me, and I feel like I'm gonna get way better B-roll footage for like the videos that I make. So this is just gonna keep looping until you want it to stop. If you wanna change the time, you can. If you wanna make it stop and hold on the object, you can set it up. There's lots of cool different creative things that you can do with this. So the really nice thing using the ball head is now when we wanna set up these vertical tilt shots, obviously you would use a stand and something to hold the top. But I'm just gonna do a handheld because I'm not gonna quick set that up. Do this as like my product. Now, if you wanna set this thing up, you can just do the same kind of settings, but just now it's vertical. Now the payload for going vertical is only 3.5 pounds. So you're not gonna wanna put like something crazy heavy on here, but I think most camera setups and lenses are gonna be fine. So here you're getting those like really cool, like almost like crane shots where it's tilting up as it's going down. That's giving a really cool parallax with the background. This is just a cool shot. Now, you probably wouldn't have it travel this far for something like this. especially if it's like you're doing content like here. I would probably just start about halfway up and then go down, but this just gives you the ability to do that. Now, like I said before, make sure you have like a good tripod and like some kind of support on the top itself, because you don't want that thing tipping over while camera setup's on there. It's a lot of money to have hit the floor. So there is a whole bunch of cool settings on here, and you do get a bunch of cables with it too. So if you are doing video like we are now, you can just use video. There's time-lapse settings, there's stop motion settings, there's macro mode, so it's going to be even finer movements. There's a panorama mode with cameras, so you do have to have the correct connection cables and set it up with your camera, but it's really easy to use. So I really am going to probably mostly use this for video, but if you are using those kind of cool time lapses, if you are traveling photographers, traveling videographers, and you want to do really cool epic time lapses, you can just set this thing for a really long duration and then just have it set up where you can go through time lapse where it's going to take photos instead. Or if you just want to use like your S&Q and go down to like 1 frame per second and go with like a 10-minute slide, you can get some really cool shots that way as well. So if you haven't checked this thing out, I would definitely recommend it. This is going to be one of my new favorite things here in the studio. I'm probably not going to bring this with me a whole lot because this is a little cumbersome, but you do get that bag, so if you do want to bring it with you, it's fine. I also do really want to kind of pick up the smaller one too, just for traveling purposes, because I think that's a really cool option. So, all right, so let's talk about the price real quick. You would imagine this thing would be like $1,500 or definitely over $1,000. They are selling this one for $750, and then the smaller one I think is like $650. And that's really surprising to me because the level of quality of this slider is so good. When they first told me this was going to be a $750 slider, I just kind of laughed at them. Was like, there's no possible way you're going to sell that for $750. But if you do, you're going to sell a lot of them, because I like using their products before. I know how good they are, but just the capabilities of what this thing can do, especially with that gimbal, I would easily pay like $1,200, $1,500 for it. But having it be $750, that is awesome. And you can get different accessories. You can pick this thing up from Ifootage. I don't have any idea what this thing costs. They just sent that with me as well. So I guess what I really like about it most is they just give you everything that you need to like use it and have it, so you don't have to buy a bunch of extra stuff. Like you would think you would need to buy that DJI plate separately. That comes with it. So pretty soon they are going to be putting out a new plate for the Osmo Pocket series. I'm not sure if you're going to get that with the set or not. I'm sure they will make it available for sale if it's not. I know they're working on it, so it's not complete yet, so I don't know what it is. In the future, when that comes out, we'll do another video with it. But you guys have any questions about the slider, please leave me a comment down below. Like the video if it's been a help. Subscribe to the channel if you want to follow along to any other gear reviews. And as always, guys, we'll catch you on the next one. Later.